Hello, citizens of the Sol System. You don't need to watch part 1 to understand this video. There's more I want to talk about in my first video, but it's getting long for me to edit and I wanted to get a video out. In this video, there'll be spoilers for the Horus Heresy series and Space Marine 2. I wanted to mention my favorite character, Gavril Loken, this guy. He was a nice surprise as I didn't know him until I started reading Horus Rising. I like him because he questions things. He doesn't just blindly follow orders, he takes time to think and reflect on his actions. He's inquisitive, wanting to understand concepts. I remember when he was getting inaugurated into the Mournivale, it seemed like kind of like a ritual. Since this was during the Horus Heresy era or the Great Crusade, the Emperor had eradicated religion and the imperial truth was the belief. The imperial truth, to simply put it, is the belief in reasoning and science. I'm not going to go into essay detail about it, so there are links in the description to have it all explained. And chaos wasn't known yet to the Imperium, so it was really out of place for the time. I thought to myself, I don't know, Loken, this seems pretty ritualistic. He questioned it and it made me like him. I like him enough that I bought a book that I paid too much for because he was in it and named one of my cats after him. I haven't gotten to the Siege of Terror series yet, other than reading part of book 1, but I'm hoping that he will get mentioned more. In The Buried Dagger, I like that he didn't go with the Grey Knights. Just something about him needing to go down his own path is refreshing. Reading the books, I've come to like a couple of the authors. My favorite so far is Aaron Dembski-Bowden. I read the first Heretic and really enjoyed it. I heard Night Lords was good even before I read anything Dembski-Bowden wrote. After I read that first book, I bought Night Lords. I haven't read it yet as I've been busy and I don't read like I used to anymore. I also have The Master of Mankind and I look forward to reading that soon. My other favorite has to be James Swallow. I enjoyed The Flight of the Eisenstein and The Buried Dagger. They're good reads. I know Dan Abnett is the top tier author for Warhammer, but for whatever reason, I can't get into his writing. My brain just checks out when trying to read his books. The first book I read was part of his Gaunt Ghost series, specifically the first and only of The Founding. The friend who got me into this whole mess enjoyed it and recommended it. I could not get into it. I finished it but had such the hardest time reading it. I also got his Eisenhorn Omnibus, and it was looking forward to reading that because it was about investigating and mystery, which I like. I started it and couldn't get into it. I also had a hard time reading Horus Rising. I don't think Abnett is a bad writer, obviously not with his fans praising his books, so it's just a me thing. Once my life quiets down, I'll try to read his books again. I plan on rereading some of the Horus Heresy books as I have collected more and can read them back to back. I showed in my first video that I recommend at least reading the first 5 and the first Heretic, and I recommend in that order. You don't have to read every novel in the series. There are main ones to follow which I'm still trying to figure out. So far this is what I have. Also, who has the time to read or even listen to 54 books? I've seen the graph. If you know, you know. For those of you who don't know, here's one of them. If you died a little inside just looking at it, don't worry, you're not alone. You can try to interpret it, but Godspeed, my man. Reading at least the first 3 of the Horus Heresy was a trip. I knew the downfall was coming, but I got pretty upset when good characters were killed. I was ready to slam Galaxy in Flames down because I was so upset. Good characters had died. I thought Loken had died, so I read his wiki page and found out that he was still alive, now trying to collect novels that mention him. One thing I like about the Horus Heresy series is how brotherly, I guess you could say, the Space Marines are with each other. You don't really get that in 40k. It's either in Horus Rising or False Gods that the Mournivale were goofing off, being brothers in arms until Horus showed up. It really humanized them. There's a part in Galaxy in Flames where Sol discovers his legion, the Emperor's children, are grotesquely experimenting to create the so-called perfect warrior. All I could think of was, run away, Sol, run away, get out! Which he does, but then sadly dies to the planet-killing virus or the planet-eating virus. Speaking of which, there's a scene in The Flight of Eisenstein that has a dreadnought carrying his Space Marine brother as they died together from it. That hit me right in the feels. I'm telling you, they are the sweethearts of Warhammer. In Fulgrim, you get to read about the Dropside Massacre. It's at the end, and it's through the Primarchus's, Fulgrim's, and Ferrus Manus' eyes. A book was recently published that goes over it more in detail, simply called Dropside Massacre. At first I wasn't too sure about it, as why would we need another book on it when it's already written in the Horus Heresy? I started looking into it, and I like the idea of more details about the massacre. One of these days I'll read it. I read Lion of the Forest and quite enjoyed it. It was a little funky with the whole chaos magic, but other than that I liked it. Zabriel became a favorite character as he also questioned things. I want a mini of him. Please, Games Workshop, make a mini of him one day. I mentioned in part 1 that I read The Infinite and The Divine. The beginning was kind of slow, but towards the middle and the end it got good. Everyone likes Trazen. Everyone. You will too if you read it. One day I will own his mini. If you ever do go to the Warhammer wikis, you will find yourself going down a long and deep rabbit hole. Every time I read into an article or mention a term I don't know about, I would read about that term only to see another term and read about that instead. Just the spiraling descent into madness trying to understand all the information. I thought I could handle it because I used to read the Wikipedia all the time. Warhammer lore is much denser than Star Wars. I mentioned in my first video that Star Wars is just child's play compared to Warhammer. Oh, the Sith are dark side users and make the tips of their fingers go zap zap? Dreadnoughts are 1,000-year-old Marines still serving on their deathbed in a casket of a giant killing machine as only in death does duty end, and there's corpse starch. It is what it sounds like, folks. I know I barely mentioned that I played Space Marine 2. For a lot of people, mainly fans, the campaign was the weakest bit. I didn't mind it, I just played through it without thinking too much about it. I remember watching someone play the first part, and I could feel the heaviness of the armor and the power every step Titus took. I recently watched the first part of the Kadu mission, and it was just so awesome. Also, this scene right here resonates with me so much. I think it resonates with anyone who played that mission. One thing that never got mentioned, which was a super nice surprise, was the Necron level. I was in awe and walked through it pretty slowly. I wanted to look at everything. When I saw those hieroglyphics, all I could think of was the Necrons. The Necrons have a very ancient Egyptian feel to them, which is why I like them because I was a huge Egyptian kid. I still find the civilization fascinating to this day. Anyway, we all love the Dreadnought taking out the Hell Brew and him throwing a statue at the Hell Drake. Dreadnoughts are great. They're tough and they're sweethearts. I mentioned the games I wanted to play. Boltgun, Dawn of War, the Definitive Edition, Dawn of War 4, and Total War Warhammer 4. When will I get these? When I have the extra money. And when is that? To be determined. Dawn of War 4 and Total War haven't come out yet, so once as I see how good they are, I'll eventually buy them. I watched some of the recent videos of the devs explaining the making of Dawn of War 4. It looks like a lot of passion and heart went into it, so it makes me very excited to play it. Am I going to play the Necrons instead of the Blood Ravens immediately?
Possibly.
I have yet another small tip for the tabletop game. I have found an app that shows the stats. However, you can't access all of them unless you have gotten all the codex books for certain factions. Honestly, just buy the index cards. Technology is supposed to make our lives easier, but it ain't making any simpler. I had been thinking back to when I was first learning all the factions, just how many of them were from fantasy lore. Elder are space elves, Dark Elder are evil space elves, Orcs are just orcs in space, the Votan are space dwarves, Blood Angels are vampires, Space Wolves are just Vikings. It definitely makes it unique compared to other sci-fi, which has many different alien species. Except for Firefly, the Imperium would love that setting. One other thing I enjoyed about Warhammer is that the humans are not the youngest species. They made their imprint on the galaxy for tens of thousands of years. It's quite nice compared to other sci-fis where humans are the youngest species to exist and discover the galaxy. The youngest species in Warhammer are the Tau. There's a story of the Tau finding a dreadnought, and they discover that he is older than their whole civilization, which is only several thousand years old. Another is they took down a Titan and thought they killed the Imperium leader. I just realized that compared to the Tau, humans are insane. I find the Tau interesting as they are a contrast to the galaxy. Their empire kind of reminds me of Mass Effect. Not anything of their culture, just the fact they're making alliances instead of straight up conquering through war. So far, I just hear friends disliking them. I haven't ran into a fan that hates the Tau. They aren't my favorite faction. That award goes to the Necrons and the Space Marines. Also, thank you for subscribing, commenting, and liking the first video. I'm surprised it has gotten as many views as it has. I was expecting it to take a week to get noticed. I also thank you for the support. To future supporters watching this video, I thank you too. Thanks for listening, God bless, and Emperor protects.